Use the following password to raise the quality of your teammates. This is located in the matchmaking settings of the game. Go down to multiplayer password and type in stray DMN. All one word, stray DMN. Now, what this does is match you with players from the Elden Ring Nightreign subreddit. These are likely to be more high-level players, and these are going to be players who know exactly what they're doing. I mean, more often than not, they will give you a much better experience. I mean, playing with randoms is, is fine, but sometimes they don't know what they're doing. They don't always play as a team, but if you use Stray DMN, then you're going to find a more like-minded community of players. There's also another password to try alongside Stray DMN, which is Fextra. So that's Fextra. If you use either of these two passwords, I guarantee you will have better teammates and more success overall. So that was the first mistake a lot of players make in this game, which is to not utilize the password system. I'm going to show you more mistakes to avoid and also crucial game-winning tips. So if that sounds good, subscribe to the channel by clicking the sub button and let's get started. So the next tip is never buy smithing stone level 2s because there's an easy place you can get them. This is in caves. So go into caves and you are guaranteed a level 2 smithing stone. Here we go, there's a smithing stone level 2, and to get those you just take out the big enemy in these mines. So not the miners or the archers, there's always a big enemy here. Could be, a knight, could be a pumpkin head. Take those out and they'll drop a smithing stone. While we're in the mines, here's a little tip with the map. If you bring up the map and then press the D-pad down, you'll see the entire layout of the cave mapped out for you. This is really handy when the big wall of fog is coming and you have no idea where to go. Bring up this map and you can get out of there quickly. This actually also applies to the overworld. So if you bring up your map in the overworld, you can actually keep it up while you're moving. This is so useful in orientating yourself and checking which way you really need to go, so you can actually play with the map open. And I love doing this. Actually, I kind of use this and keep it open much of the time, which isn't that good because it means I'm just missing out on the detail of the world, and the world is amazing, but it's useful, so I'm going to use that functionality. Do not make the mistake of skipping items on the ground because you don't have the inventory space for it, because there is a quick way to actually use these items right on the ground. So hold Y, and press up on the D-pad, and you can actually use them straight away without swapping them out for any items in your inventory. So I just say that again. So let's say there's some boluses on the ground. Rather than pick them up and keep them in your inventory and then use them, you can use them without picking them up, which is by holding Y and pressing up on the D-pad. So here's another example. We see some fire grease, and I've used that fire grease automatically. You can throw fire pots straight away, but there's no enemies, so pretty pointless. So you're going to have to pick up the daggers if you actually want to use them. But the pickle turtleneck, you can use that straight away off the ground. Hold Y, press up on the D-pad. Really, really useful doing that. Now, here's the next mistake to avoid. And this is, if you're playing as a recluse, don't skip out on wraith calling bells. This is because you can get an infinite supply of wraith calling bells using the recluse's FP top-up mechanic. So as you can see, I'm just pressing up on the D-pad and calling out these yellow homing skulls to home in on the enemy. This consumes FP, but due to the way the recluse works, she can actually refill her FP using her mechanic, and this actually tops up the wraith calling bell an infinite amount of times, so you can just keep using it again and again. Other characters don't have this mechanic, so the recluse is the only one who gets an infinite supply of wraith calling bells. Really handy to have, and yeah, whenever I see a wraith calling bell as the recluse, I always make sure to pick it up. Talismans made easy. Here's how to get easier talismans in the game. You have to go after the scarab beetles, and they drop talismans like the Graven Skull talisman, which gives you raised potency of sorceries. Now that seems pretty straightforward, but they are random on the map. So how do you actually work out where they are? You can go into these locations and then go into the map room, which is located in the turrets. So if you turn around from the bonfire here, you can go into the turret and you'll find a map, and these actually mark the locations of scarab beetles. So don't make getting talismans random. You can make it an easier, more efficient process by marking the scarab beetles on the map by visiting these locations. And talismans are pretty game changing. You can get stuff like generate more runes for yourself, raise damage, loads of great stuff like that. And talismans are really useful in beating any of the Night Lords. Here's something you may not know about how death works in this game. While the game says you lose a level, you don't actually lose that level unless you lose the runes. So when you pick up your runes, you can actually reinstate your level, so it's not permanently lost. So that's the first thing a lot of people get wrong about death in this game. The other thing is teammates can collect your runes. So if you fall and you're in no position to grab your runes, teammates can actually collect that, and you can collect teammates' runes. Another thing to keep in mind is if you lose your souls or your runes on day 1 and the ring closes, you can actually go back and pick them up on day 2. So they're not lost for good. You can go back between days and grab your souls or your runes, whatever you want to call them. I keep calling them runes. A lot of people call them souls, but yeah, you can go and pick them up regardless of if you lost them on day 1, and then go get them on day 2. Finally, if you lose your level once, you won't then lose another level the next time you die. You only lose your level once, and that's it. So you don't worry about, plummeting all the way down your levels. The maximum amount of times you can go down a level is once. And as I say, once you pick up those runes, then you can get your level back again really, really easily. If you're struggling with a particular Night Lord in Elden Ring, it's probably because you're making a fundamental mistake with your level. That is to say, you are probably under leveled. The level I recommend getting is to around level 12 at minimum, if not 13 or 14. Levels really matter in this game, so if you're not getting up those levels, the Night Lords are going to be progressively more difficult. If you go in at level 10, it's going to be really hard, and you're just making things extra hard on yourself. So how to get up levels? For this, there are loads of ways to earn runes and buy levels at Sites of Grace. So if you see here, we can gain the Rune of the Strong as a dormant power, and this gives us 10,000 runes. Now this is a choice, and you can choose between the Rune of the Strong or improved physical attack power plus 6%. Always, when you get this choice, choose something that gives you runes. There are other things you can choose, like talismans that give you more runes, and pickled foul feet, which give you runes. So always get those runes however you can get them. Another way of getting more runes is these gold glowing trees. These boost rune acquisition, and there are a few of these around the map. So we have one here, and we have another one just around the corner right here. And I believe these effects stack, so make sure you always interact with these glowing trees and just boost your runes even more. Also, do not forget to just, farm mobs of enemies. It's really bad practice to just run past all the enemies en route to getting, those flask charges and things like that. People definitely can't see the wood for the trees sometimes, when really the answer is staring right in front of you in the form of low-level enemies. Just what I do, I like to kill everything in my path and just build up those runes and get those levels. Something that really changed the game for me was when I stopped ignoring the Hall of Victories. So when you go here, which is located just up the shoreline from the main base, then you'll see all the past victories of players, and specifically what loadout they had when they took on a boss. So we see here this person who took on the Tricephalos was level 13, and they had a full assortment of holy weapons. This gives you a little example of what to shoot for when you take on the Tricephalos yourself. This person who took on the Argor boss was level 12, which is fairly low, and this person was level 13. So what you'll start to see is all of the levels from all of the people who beat all these bosses are 12, 13, and 14, maybe even 15. I believe 15 is the maximum level you can get in this game, but this is the level you want to be, as I say, to take on bosses. Also, this guy had the gold scarab talisman, which gives you more runes from defeated enemies, so they're doing it right. They're getting all those runes however they can get them. But yeah, the Hall of Victories is really, really good, and do not ignore it, because it gives you a really crucial insight into how you can take down these bosses for yourself. One final thing about this haul, something else you can do with this room is get extra merc. So if you see a mark on the floor and there's a particularly bright glowing gold aura around this mark, it means if you interact with it, it will grant you an extra boost of merc. Merc, of course, being the currency you use in the round table hold, and you can spend it at the small jar bazaar. You can also buy clothes at the wardrobe and things like that. But yeah, always go back to this haul whenever you can and just check for extra glowing gold icons and then interact with them for merc. A crucial boss tip now, and this is, I mean, it seems pretty obvious, but it passed me by when I first started playing this game, but that is to check the elemental weakness next to each boss. So we see the Tricephalos. They're weak to holy damage, and you can tell that by if you look at the effective term here, and then you look to the right of that, there's an icon for holy, which means do holy damage to this, and they'll go down in, you know, much less time than if you didn't use holy weapons. You absolutely melt bosses using elemental effects. With the sentient pest, you want to use fire. With the augur, however you say that, you want to use lightning. Lightning and holy, the icons look pretty confusing, but holy is more golden and lightning is more yellow, so make sure you don't get those confused. But yeah, you definitely want to use elemental effects. Also spec towards elemental effects using your relics. So for instance, if you're going after the sentient pest, you might want to use a delicate tranquil scene, which gives you fire grease at the start of your expedition. Although that's not essential because you can pick up fire grease as you go. It's just a nice little bonus. Another thing is, of course, get those elemental weapons. Weapons are more important than items, because items of course run out, whereas weapons are always in your possession. So for that, I recommend always checking the map and checking to see which little elemental icon is next to a location and then going after that element. So for instance, if you see a holy icon, which is a little square icon next to a cathedral, for instance, go after that and you can find you know, an elemental weapon which is holy, and then take on the boss. This really works for the first boss, the Tricephalos, because they're weak to holy. If you're taking out the sentient pest, then look on the map for the fire icon next to a location, and then go to that location to find an elemental fire weapon. Doing this is the best way to melt a boss, so if you're not leveled between 13, 14, maybe as low as 12, and if you're not using elements, then you really are making things extra hard for yourself. A big mistake I see a lot of people making is going right for the golden cathedrals. These are where you upgrade your flask and get an extra charge for your flask. But people are kind of being a bit blinded by this and going straight towards these golden cathedrals, when really you should actually use the following motion when exploring the map. So what you want to do is go around the map in a sort of whirlwind or spiral shape. This is the most efficient way of going around the map because, as you can see, as the circle closes, you're maximizing the amount of locations you can visit and also maximizing all of the loot and all of the runes you're getting. If you did opposite to this and you went into the center and then back out again and into the center, back out, you're not really using your time effectively. And time is the big resource in this game. You need as much time as possible and you want to make things as quick as possible so you don't run out of time and lose all the area around you due to that encroaching fog. You see these white streaks on the map, you can use these as a sort of indicator of generally where to go. So you see it's sort of like a wind streak shape going in different directions. If you know, kind of generally follow these will mark you in the most effective travel route. You don't, of course, have to stick to these, but it's just the developers going, hey, if you want to make things a bit easier, follow this direction. Do not neglect the vendors because they sell some amazing stuff. Smithing stone level 2 is something you probably shouldn't buy if you can help it because, as mentioned, you can get them in caves, but they sell an array of talismans. So if you need a little boost in that regard, hit up a vendor for a talisman. They have Erdtree's Favor, which is a raise of your maximum HP and stamina. They have, this one has the Ritual Sword Talisman, which raises attack power when HP is at maximum. Really effective stuff. As well as that, Never buy the little items like, you know, the pickled turtlenecks or the fire pots or the glowing stones, because you can find these so abundantly out in the world. It's pretty much just a waste of money, but the weapons they have can really make a difference. If you're looking for legendary weapons, or in other words, gold weapons, which are a step up from purple weapons, what you want to do is fight field bosses and great bosses, but only when you are level 10 and onwards. Field bosses tend to drop legendary weapons after level 10, so this will be the second day. Most likely, unless you get up to level 10 on the first day, and once that happens, go and fight a field boss and you can probably get a legendary weapon more often than not. I never fight field bosses on day one. It's just a waste of time because you're far too underleveled. You can do it, but it takes too much time, and time, as I say, is a resource in this game. So the best use of your time is to go after elemental weapons, you know, like holy weapons or fire weapons, and just go after runes and farm runes in efforts to level up as quickly as possible. Save the field bosses for day 2. When you are facing a boss, or any enemy in this game to be honest, and one of your teammates goes down and they have 3 full purple bars, don't revive them, because this is a trap. I never revive teammates when they're on 3 bars, which is the maximum amount of bars you can have, unless I have an ultimate. If you stand there hitting a teammate to revive them, you're just asking to be hit by the boss, because the boss is now targeting either you or your one remaining teammate. So yeah, use your ultimate to revive a teammate that's down with 3 bars. Don't just hit them, because it just takes far too long. A very specific mistake I see a lot of players make when playing as I is neglecting to pick up bows. Well, you can pick up bows at this location right here. These are the forts. And these probably have the most weapon pickups you can get out of any location. They have loads of bow racks, so you can pick up plenty of bows at these locations. Also, loads of chests as well, which have other weapons for other characters, like, you know, hook claws, katanas, all this stuff. So if you are looking for a weapon and you're desperately needing that before you take on a Night Lord or a boss, then go to a fort and then try and get one of the weapons they have stocked there. Finally, this is something really easy to miss, but make sure you don't miss it. If you see in the top left corner an arrow next to the number and it's pointing upwards, this means you can level up. The first few matches I played of this game, I was going to Sites of Grace and trying to level up just to see how many runes I've got, and then it turns out I couldn't afford it, and it would waste so much time going to a Site of Grace and trying to level up without the necessary runes. But now, instead of that, I only go to a Site of Grace when I see this arrow in the top left corner. This indicates you can level up. Anyway, those were the biggest mistakes to avoid in Elden Ring Nightreign. If you enjoyed the video, do leave a like, that's very much appreciated, and subscribe to the channel for more Elden Ring Nightreign guides.